What if your job isn't just about paying the bills? What if the work that you do each day directly impacts your blood sugar, your metabolism, your sleep, and even your ability to reverse your diabetes? Tonight, we're diving into the world of occupational health. We're exploring how alignment between your job and your true purpose can be the hidden key to unlocking metabolic health and reversing diabetes. If you've ever felt stressed, if you've ever felt stuck, if you've ever felt burnt out, or just unsure about your career, about what you're currently doing, and is it really affecting your health, then this episode is for you. Get ready, because tonight we're exploring purpose-driven health, how your work affects your metabolism. Hey, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. And here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And we are living in this year, we're living a limitless life. And limitless living says that we're not allowing anything from inside of us or anything around us in our environment to prevent us from doing what we need to do to be healthy. We are presenting our best selves, our best health, and our best plans for our lives, and we are moving. We're breaking free from those boundaries and those obstacles. We are living a limitless life. Hey, if you're new to me, also go ahead and put new in the comments, because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. And let you know that we're happy that you're here. If you do have questions, go ahead and put those questions in the comments, because we want to make sure that we get to those as we move through our show tonight. If you know how we do, hey, I am talking to adults with type 2 diabetes. People who want to reverse their diabetes, who want to get off of medications, who want to improve their health and particularly improve their metabolism. So we've got some things that we're going to look at here in just a minute. I've got my monitors over to the side. I've got my Dexcom report that we're going to take a look at here in just a minute, so you get to see what is going on and what's been going on with my blood sugars over the last several days since we've been together. And we were together several days ago as I ended my fast. I'm glad that you are here. Whatever platform that you are joining us from, thank you for being in this space. And you'll see coming up here in just a minute, there it is. There is my Dexcom report that you'll see down there at the bottom. I've got my meters off to the side. And all of these are things that we'll look at here in a minute. I see some of our community members out there. We'll come by and say hello to them and just talk about what's been going on in this space. Just excited that you are here. We are continuing our path down our limitless living journey, and in particular we are coming to the end of this mini series that we've been doing on the domains of health. Tonight we are attacking how our work and our alignment at work can really affect our metabolism. So we'll talk about that here in just a minute. Before we do that, let's go ahead and I'm going to hop over and let's take a look at some of our numbers, because those are very important. I want to make sure that we take a look at that. And here is what my Freestyle Libre says that my blood sugar is right now at this moment. And you'll see I'm looking at this little line right here, this little squiggly white line. That's where my blood sugar has been running over the course of the last day or so. And you'll see it's been below 100 for most of the day, and then right after lunch it popped up, and we'll take a look at more specific numbers when I get to the Dexcom, so you can actually see what those are, and then of course coming back down. Here is my Dexcom, as I've been saying. Let's go ahead and pull that up, and let's look here as well, and you see for most of this day it's been in the low 100s. There it is, low 100s. And then right after lunch, it popped up and then coming back down. And so for most of you, you know that I do a 1 meal a day. And typically I actually do my 1 meal after the show. But I've tried shifting that a little bit. And so that's what you see there in the middle of the day. Got up to, what was 160, I think? Yeah. And do you guys know what that was? That was, I had some mozzarella sticks with some marinara sauce. I had 4. They were breaded, and then I had a side of broccoli. So mozzarella sticks, broccoli, and then of course my was it Gold Peak Zero Sugar Tea. So that's what you see right there. And then coming back down, and to where we are right now. And so we dipped down to about 118 and then pop back up. An interesting point to make there to many of you out there, and I talked to several people today in the office, and one of the points I was making is that when we look at blood sugars on an average, our blood sugar, we want blood sugars to be on average about 120 or less. Any blood sugar that you have that's over 99, because 99 is the upper limit of what's considered normal. And when I say normal, I'm talking for people who don't have diabetes. So 70 to 99 is considered to be a normal blood sugar. So anytime you have a blood sugar that's higher than that, then that blood sugar is causing some problems in your body. Okay? So people say to me all the time, well, where should I keep my blood sugar? And that is what it is. So why then do we say 100 to 120? We say that because it is a safety issue. So if someone is on medication, we don't want their blood sugars much lower, right? Because if they're on medication, the medication doesn't know that their blood sugar is low, and so it keeps continuing to lower that blood sugar. Okay? So when we're eating, our goal is to prevent the spike. People say, well, it comes back down. Yes, it does come back down, but it's actually the spike that causes the problem. So my goal whenever I'm eating is how can I minimize the spike in my blood sugar? And so what I described to you that caused that 160 or 150, whatever it was what do you think in the meal that I ate that caused it? Well, it wasn't the cheese, and it wasn't the broccoli. So it was that comment I made about what the cheese was, right? So it was breaded, right? So those mozzarella sticks were breaded. And so it was actually the carbs in the bread that caused the big spike. Had I not done that, then my blood sugars may have gotten up to maybe 130. And while that's still elevated, the 130 is better than 150, right? So you see the difference? So it's not that the meal itself was a bad meal. It was that the things that I ate caused a bigger spike than I would want. Now, as you saw, it came back down and, it's approaching 130 now. But once again, we want to minimize that as much as possible. And so when you're talking about the food that you're eating, putting together the meal, it is the idea that we want to minimize those spikes. Because if we minimize the spikes, and you'll see we'll talk about spiking and blood sugar and so forth in a minute, when we minimize those spikes, then that is what is helping us prevent the amount of insulin that our body will require to treat that blood sugar. And remember, insulin is the culprit. Insulin is the culprit. Okay, so that's what the blood sugars are. Let's go ahead and hop over, and I want to take a look at what my Keto Mojo and my Contour is saying that my blood sugars here are. So let's go ahead and grab a strip. This is the Contour strips. And so we'll grab that, put that in here. And for this one, I have two strips, of course. One is the blood sugar strip for the Keto Mojo. Get that in there. And once again, I'm going to go ahead and open up the strip for the ketones, and we'll have that out here to the side. We'll put that in a minute, and then grab my handy dandy container, which has, let's make sure this one is not bent. Okay, yeah. Because you guys remember last week we had one that was bent. So let me just show you, that's what that needle looks like right there. Okay. And I'm going to, normally I use this finger or this one, so I'm going to pick the one that we used last week because we did get a good ow, ow, ow. Of course, as soon as I say that, I'm thinking, oh, maybe not. Okay, I didn't push too hard on that because that hurt. And because that one is not as calloused as the others, I get a good flow for my drop of blood there. Get one there, get one here. And come on. And then I'll need to get one more. So 117 is what that says on the Contour. And let's put this back up. So this one. And 97 for the Keto Mojo. Let's get this out. And I am not fasting. I've not been fasting since we broke our fast on Friday. But I have been doing a good job, I think, of keeping blood sugars relatively good. So we'll take a look at that here in just a sec. Okay, and so that's my ketones. We'll see what my ketones are. And I'm not going to hide it from you. We'll just all kind of look at it together as it comes up. 4, 3, 2, and then 1. So zero point 0.3, right? So that's actually pretty good. So remember, for ketones, less than 0.5 considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and then above that, considered therapeutic ketosis. I do want to hop over and look at one of the things that we've been kind of keeping track of, and this is my weight from today. You'll remember, was it last week? Actually, let me go back and see if I can find that, because I did do a screen capture of that. Let's see. And so my last one, I think, was it yesterday sometime? Okay, here it is. No, it was actually this morning. Let's see. So we did that screen capture, so we could take a look at that here together, and there it is. There it is. So 185.4 is what it was this morning, and then of course now you'll see 186.8. So from this morning at 185.4 is what you're seeing right now, based on what I ate today, and the broccoli, the mozzarella. I'm 186.8, so that's 1.3, 1.4 pounds, and I'll see if I can get both of them on the screen. I can't. Anyway, you get the idea. So this is where I am right now. Okay, a comment there as we are moving into our discussion for tonight is that our weight and blood sugar and cholesterol and blood pressure and all those parameters that we pay attention to, the improvement of those is simply a side effect of the improved metabolism that we are working on as we're moving through limitless living. Let me say that again. When you see improvement in your weight and your blood pressure and your cholesterol, and your fatty liver, and your metabolic disease, and your improvement in your coronary artery disease, and your improvement in stroke, and your peripheral artery disease, and all of those metabolic diseases that we talk about, the improvement in them is simply an outgrowth of the fact that as you are moving down the limitless living path, you are improving your metabolism. So remember, dysregulated, dysfunctional metabolism is the culprit in all of those metabolic diseases. And the underlying issue, the underlying defect of all of that is hyperinsulinemia. And so as you are moving down your limitless living journey, you will find improvement in all of those downstream parameters, but those are simply side effects, y'all. That is not even the main thing that we're going after. But they come as a result of getting our metabolism right again. And so as you are thinking about the things that you need done in your body, the things that you're trying to improve, often we get focused on, blood pressure and blood sugar and cholesterol. But I want to, as I was saying to someone recently, I want to help you change that thought process, that we're not just talking about the fact that you are improving your heart or your kidney, or your lungs, or your neuropathy, or your thought process. We're not just talking about those isolated things. Our goal is to get your metabolism better. And if we can get the metabolism better, if you can do that job, then all the other things get better. And that's what limitless living says, that we can improve all of that. So anyway, so that's what you see. That's what my blood sugars are. Let's hop over here and take a look at some of these numbers. And here is my Dexcom Clarity Report. You'll see that my average blood sugar right now is 105. My range, in time and range is 99. So I'm 99% in range. And I think I just lost one of my cameras. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna pop up over here. And oh yeah, so that one disappeared, y'all. So let's keep talking. So we'll see here. And so this is my blood sugar, and that is 105. 105 is my average. My glucose management indicator is a 5.8, which is what you'll see there. And my range is 70 to 180, which is what is there on the screen. And if I were to look at my blood sugars over the course of the day, over the last several days, actually, is what I want to see. I want you to see is that aside from today, so this is what we had. Our blood sugars just jumped up there, and over the course of the earlier part of the day, then we were in the 100s, 120s, down into the 70s and 80s. And last night, my wife kept waking me up because my blood sugars were dipping down below 70 there. And so yesterday, we're in the 90s, 100s. All right, so look at all of that. And that was yesterday. As you guys know, I went camping yesterday. Or this past weekend, so we were in the 130s. Right there, we got up to about 160. Down a little bit. And that was Saturday. And here was this was when we broke our fast, right? So after we broke our fast, we were in the low 100s, 90s, and I think I broke the fast right in here, right at 72 hours. And if you haven't seen that episode yet, make sure you go ahead and watch that. And earlier in the day, this is where we were. Right? You see that. And so over the course of the last 7 days is what you're seeing there. So blood sugars really kind of ranging from maybe the lows. Let me see if I can find a low one. So these were probably the lowest. In the low 70s, actually right here. So we got down into the 60s. Anywhere from the 60s, and then today, for the first time in the course of the last 7 days, I want you to listen to that. Over the course of the last 7 days, we got up to 160. But for the most of the time, it was, and let me go back to the overview. And so for most of the time, the last 14 days, we've been an average of 105. And that's what you see in the course there. If I look back at 90 days, if you remember, we were having some challenges with blood sugars because I was sick. And so over the last 90 days, we've been 134. So let's see, when is it? Another month and a half or 2 months? A month and a half from now, I'll be getting an A1C. And so my goal is to, if I go back here, so this is what I want my A1C to approximate over the next month or so. Okay, and let me see if my camera's back. All right, so that is what my plan is going to be for the blood sugar. Okay, so we're back. Hopefully that stays on. Let's see if I can get. So when I came in, it was cold in here, so I turned on the heat. So I think the camera just overheated. All right, so there we are. So does that make sense? So that's where we are. So let's hop over and let's say hello to some of our community members, because I see some of you out there. Let's see who we have. Pamela is saying hello. Hey Pam, how are you? Welcome. And let's see, let's go back. Here we are. So Pam is saying hello. Cornelia, hey Cornelia, how are you? She's saying hi Pam. Bye, hi back to Cornelia. Jennifer, what's up Jennifer? Howdy. Jennifer saying howdy y'all. Teresa, hey Dr. Woode and everyone. Pam, hi Jennifer and Teresa. Hi Jennifer, Teresa from Cornelia. Cornelia says thank you Dr. Woode for this topic. You are so welcome. Cornelia, I was going to say something, but then I remember I say that for everything. So I love this topic. One of the things that we're talking about in our one of the concepts that we're using in our walk that we're doing is this idea of is this idea of keystone principles. And keystone principles are those things that are fundamental to all that we do. And this conversation is a very fundamental conversation. As you'll see, we'll kind of tie it into some other things here in a minute. Give me a second. Let me go. I'm going to run over here and open this door because it's starting to feel a little warmer again. And I don't want this camera to go out. We're going to try not to have that happen. Hold on a second. All right, so I am back, and I've elicited the help of some of the folks here, my wife, to turn the air on so we can deal with that. Okay, so fundamental to what we're doing, fundamental to the conversations that we are having, and that's why the domains of health are very important to us. And we've been spending some time kind of walking through this mini series as we've been doing here. So thank you for that, Cornelia. And let's see. So Steve is in the house, y'all. Let's go back and let's say hello. So Teresa's saying hi, Pam, Steve, Jennifer. Steve is saying hello to everybody. Hi, Steve from Pam. Cornelia, hey, Steve. Sherry Demper, yeah, good evening from Brooklyn, New York in the house, y'all. Oh, hand clap and some music for you, Sherry. That's my old stomping ground. That's my place right there, Brooklyn. I went to Brooklyn Tech. I went to Andrews Huddy, 256, 269. All up Empire Boulevard in New York Avenue. Spent a lot of time on Nostrand, going up and down at the junction, Kings Plaza, downtown Brooklyn. That's my place. Park Slope, Brooklyn, Brooklyn Academy of Music. Spent a lot of time in that area with friends. So hey, Sherry. And I used to work at the Dime Savings Bank. I don't know if I've said that to anybody before, but yeah, that was one of my very first jobs. Right next door to right next door to Junior's Cheesecake. Oh, okay. So anyway, Pamela saying hi to Sherry, and Cornelia saying hi, Sherry. Jennifer, Nebraska is saying hey, howdy, Steve and Sherry. Sherry said thank you for the hand clap. All right. She said I'm close to Boys and Girls. I know where that is. Yeah, Boys and Girls. So we went to, let's see, if I think about my family, we went to Brooklyn Tech, Boys and Girls, Sheepshead Bay, Erasmus. This is not a high school, but I have some people who went to Lefferts. No people who went to Clara Barton, Westinghouse, Grady. Anyway, and I can go on and on and on and on and on. All right, so Teresa's saying hi, Steve and Sherry. So all right, so now we've looked at the numbers. We see where we are, and everybody, once again, I want you to understand that what we are doing, the benefits that you're seeing, the things that you're having that are happening in your life, are simply side effects of the process that we're on, the journey that we've been on. Limitless living is not a destination per se, but it is a framework that we're using to improve our dysfunctional metabolism. And so dysfunctional metabolism is the underlying problem that leads to all of the downstream difficulties that we talk about. When we talk about metabolic disease, we talk about high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, prediabetes, fatty liver, polycystic ovarian syndrome. All of those are built on dysfunctional metabolism. And the culprit that underlines all of that is hyperinsulinemia, as we've kind of gone through before. So if you've not done so, make sure you go back and look at our discussion on what disrupts metabolism when we did in the beginning of this series. And so now what we've been doing based on our limitless living inventory that we designed and we talked about and we implemented, we are looking at the domains of health, and we've been walking through those on this mini series that we're currently doing. And we are now talking about our occupational health, how our work and alignment or misalignment in our work can affect the things that we do and how this works, right? So let's hop in. Let's hop in. Let's talk. So most of us, as we work, we spend about a third of our lives working. That's nearly 90,000 hours. And guess what? Those hours can profoundly shape our metabolism, our blood sugar, and our ability, as we've been working on, to reverse our diabetes. So what we want to do is uncover how career alignment, time stress, and even job satisfaction can secretly drive your hormones, drive your eating habits, drive your sleep quality, and overall your diabetes management. Yeah? So have you ever felt drained at the end of the day? And I'm not talking about drained as in, man, this is just exciting stuff and I'm just spending all my time there. I'm talking about drained where you are just really trying to get through the day because what you're doing doesn't seem to be providing satisfaction. You seem stuck. You seem as though you're kind of going through the motions, kind of like that hamster on the wheel. And so it's not just emotional, but it's also physical. And that's not just exhaustion. That's the metabolism reacting to stress. Stress from career misalignment, stress from time pressures, and all the things that come along with not being aligned in our purpose with the thing that we're doing. So when your job doesn't align with your sense of purpose, it's not simply frustrating, it's physically disruptive. So we talk about those three words. You've heard me say them all over and over and over again. I'm saying them again. So when we are irritable, right? We're dissatisfied, and we are not able to really decrease the friction that goes on in our lives. That causes dissatisfaction. And so chronic dissatisfaction triggers your body's stress response. It floods your system with cortisol. And cortisol isn't just a stress hormone. It directly raises blood sugar. It encourages insulin resistance, and it promotes fat storage around your midsection. Often we have people who are put on steroids for whatever reason. They have COPD, they may have bronchitis, they may have some other things going on. And so what happens is they get what's called Cushingoid features. They get fat pad behind their neck, their jaws become big, they have thinning extremities, and they have mid-abdominal obesity. It's almost like looking at a Pillsbury Doughboy, the amount of weight that they put on, particularly in the midsection. And we've already said that the visceral fat, not just the abdominal fat, the fat that accumulates on the inside, is disruptive to our metabolism. And so when that happens, then we run into the problem that we see when we talk about our dysfunctional metabolism. And so as we move through that space, let's go ahead and let's do a quick recap of where we've been. So we are in the process of discussing the domains of our health. And we have talked about the limitless living inventory, which allows us to look at all these aspects of our life, which we're calling domains, and see, are there places where we need to become more aligned? The domains represent the wheel that is taking us through our lives. And you'll see that called lots of different things. If you Google on the internet, if you read books, they talk about the wheel of life, right? So these are the domains of health. These are the different things that we are looking at, and these are the things really that are kind of taking us through life. And when that wheel is symmetrical, when the things are working, when they are doing the things that they're supposed to do, when there is alignment, then that wheel is smooth and we're going through our lives in a smooth fashion. But if there is a part of that wheel that is broken, damaged, bent, then what happens is as we're trying to get through life, then we have kind of this disordered, dysfunctional, rocky transit through our days, through our weeks, through our months, and ultimately through the course of our lives. So if we're going to be successful, if we want to make sure that we are doing what we need to do and make sure that we are putting things in order, we want to look at that wheel and make sure the wheel is well symmetrical. And so we've been walking through now the domains of health. We've been walking through each of those, and we are tonight talking about our work and our occupational health. And that's why this is coming up in our discussion. So here's the science. Here's the science behind the domains. The science says that when people are dissatisfied with their jobs, when they're consistently having disordered thoughts, they show up just because, oh, I got to. When there's not fulfillment there, then they have higher cortisol level. The cortisol level drives higher blood sugars, because remember, cortisol is the stress hormone that actually gets the energy in the form of sugar. So there are two main stress hormones. It's epinephrine and cortisol. And epinephrine prepares the body for stress, or prepares the body to function and to respond to stress. You see a tiger and you need to run. The muscles are all geared because the brain has sent the signal to the muscles to move. And cortisol now goes out and finds the energy and dumps that energy into the muscles so you can run. So there's the yin and yang. But cortisol is that stress hormone that goes out and finds energy. So whenever you are chronically stressed, then you have higher cortisol levels. Higher cortisol levels translates into higher blood sugars. Higher blood sugars require insulin to come out to regulate those blood sugars. Because after all, we don't want blood sugars. We said earlier that a normal blood sugar is anywhere between 70 to 99. Normal blood sugar is 70 to 99, and we've told our patients that they can have blood sugars between 100 and 120 for security or safety reasons. So that insulin that comes out is going to help to regulate the blood sugars so that it doesn't remain high. And once that insulin is elevated, and I want you to get this point because this is a very important point. Once the insulin is elevated, that insulin now causes the downstream issues that we see in metabolism. Insulin is not bad because insulin does the job that it's supposed to do in the body. But chronically elevated insulin above normal is where the problem comes in. So when we talk about managing diabetes, often I give the analogy that your blood sugars are elevated up here and your body's ability to manage it is here. And our goal is, remember, one of the pillars of reversing diabetes, our goal is to reduce sugar to the point where the body's ability to manage it matches what the glucose level is. If that happens, medications go away. And so here in this instance, having chronic stress that comes from job dissatisfaction causes cortisol. Cortisol causes high blood sugar. High blood sugar requires insulin to come out. We have higher A1Cs. Insulin resistance goes up. And of course, the long-term misalignment elevates cortisol chronically, and that contributes to metabolic syndrome, obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. All of those things along the metabolic spectrum. And then there's time stress. The feeling that you're always running out of time at work, which happens for people who are not aligned with what they're doing. So this persistent sense of urgency activates your fight or flight system, driving insulin resistance and further disrupting hunger hormones, right? Because when we're stressed, we also find ourselves eating. Cortisol disrupts ghrelin and leptin, which are the hunger and satiety hormones. And you feel hungry more and more. You feel less satisfied when you eat. Your blood sugars are elevated and insulin comes out. That drives cravings. And the cycle just continues going on and on and on. And that becomes tough to break. The bottom line is that if you are unhappy at work, your metabolism feels it. And the metabolism responds with all the things that we talk about. So sometimes people will say, man, I'm just hungry all the time. I'm fatigued all the time. I'm putting on all this weight. I just am not comfortable in my body. Restless, irritable, and discontent. Restless, irritable, and discontent. And so if we are not aligned, if we're not satisfied, then that causes those downstream issues for us. So job satisfaction, motivation, and metabolic health. On the flip side, when we are satisfied, it's like medicine for your metabolism. Right? You've heard us talk about food as medicine. How about this? Job satisfaction as medicine. Right? When your work aligns with your purpose and with your values, your brain releases feel-good hormones like dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. And we've talked about oxytocin as that bonding hormone. Dopamine and serotonin are those feel-good hormones. Those are, and dopamine really is that anticipatory hormone. It's like you are so excited about work and the things you're doing, and the fulfillment that you get is you get a burst of dopamine simply by thinking about going to work. Wow. When I have my huddle, we do a huddle at my job, and I sit around or stand around with my team. I tell them that I want you in your personal life to be like in nirvana. I want you to be so excited about your life at home and outside of the job that when you come to work, I simply, at the job, I get the overflow of all the stuff that's happening in your life. Because if I get that overflow, man, that is like the bomb. And so I want my folks to enjoy what they do. We have some folks that we've told before, hey, we love that you're here, but is this where you need to be? And not that they were doing poorly, but we knew that there were other things that they wanted to do in their lives. So go do that. We're excited that you're here. But when these hormones, dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, when those hormones come out, they not only improve your mood, but they directly enhance insulin sensitivity, metabolic function, and your body's ability to regulate sugars. Imagine this. You wake up energized, looking forward to the day ahead because you find fulfillment in your work. You're naturally more motivated to care about yourself. You eat better. You show up better. You carry yourselves better. You move better. You're able to stick consistently to your diabetes management plan, to your health plan. We're doing a 100-day walk to consistency and health in the morning. You're more able to do that when you are satisfied. Now, I'm going to make a plug here, right? Because I said that we're talking specifically here about occupational health. But when we look at those domains, when we talk about the limitless living inventory, we draw them and we talk about, excuse me, we talk about them in isolation, as though there's this little compartment over here, over there, and over there. But the truth is that they all interact. They cross into each other. Your personal relationship crosses into your occupational health. Your social health crosses into your physical health. Your physical health crosses into your emotional health. And they all are intertwined. When I transitioned to work that fully aligned with my values and purpose, like what I'm doing here, and I've said to you guys, when I get off air, when I leave this space, when I hit the button, the show turns off, you can take a plug and plug it into me and it would light. Why? Because this is my alignment. What I do, love doing it. And so if I can regulate all of my domains, can you imagine what that's like? So career satisfaction isn't a luxury. Because we say, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing. It is what it is. It's not a luxury. It is an essential part of your metabolic health. So let's talk a little bit about burnout and diabetes management. So let's move into specifically blood sugars. Because burnout isn't just about feeling tired. It's a metabolic crisis. Burnout means emotional exhaustion, a sense of detachment from your work, and feeling ineffective. You're doing the things, you're going through, and I just feel like I don't know. From a metabolic standpoint, burnout consistently elevates cortisol level. It weakens insulin sensitivity. It raises inflammation and can even trigger autoimmune responses. When you feel chronic stress, then we have the inflammation, we have the abdominal obesity, we have the cortisol level. And we've said that those things themselves decrease your immune system. You get sicker. You get more sicker often. It's like, why am I always sick? Why am I always catching a cold? Why am I having all these other things happening? It is because there's misalignment. So burnout shows up for lots of people in different ways. But here's some ideas. You skip your glucose checks, or you skip taking your insulin because you're overwhelmed. I can't think of if another person says anything to me about blood sugar, I'm just going to lose it. If I have to think one more time about the things that I'm eating, if I have to look at my menu, if I've got to go look at my carbs, if I've got to if another person tells me that I need to exercise, I'm just going to have it. You start eating emotionally because you don't have the capacity in your personal space, in your social space, in your relational space, in your mental space. Those are all the domains, by the way. You don't have capacity anymore to handle those things because you're putting all of your energy into just getting through the day at the job. And so your brain doesn't want to make any more decisions. We've talked about exhaustion and decision fatigue. And so the natural thing to do is to take the easiest route. So if I see it and I think it's going to help me be comforted, I don't have to make a decision, I'm going to have it. So you're driving down the highway and you see the sign that says whatever the sign says, and okay, there goes the car. And you show up at your house with 18 Cadbury chocolate bars. I'm not sure who that happened to, but I'm just saying. Right? You start eating emotionally. Comfort foods that have high sugar, high fat. Right? They're not nutrient dense, they're very calorie dense. Exercise feels like it's impossible because you're drained. I can't move another muscle. In other words, burnout severely undermines your ability to manage diabetes effectively. And that leads directly to poor glucose control and increased diabetes-related complications. So, can you recognize some of these? Red flags. These are red flags. You feel chronically fatigued and detached at work. Yeah, how about that? Your diabetes care habits slip because you're too exhausted. I can't think about it anymore. I can't check my blood sugar. I don't even want to put on a monitor. I just want to eat and go to sleep. I'm not taking any insulin. I'm not taking any medication. I can't do anything else. You notice worsening blood sugars despite your best intentions. You're doing all the things that you've been told. You've cut back on the food, but something just doesn't seem right. And most people will double down on the food. I'm decreasing my food. When it's not a food issue, it's the fact that you are chronically stressed. So the bottom line there is that burnout at work isn't just emotional. It directly interferes with your diabetes care. Yep, it does. So what are some practical steps for aligning your work and your health? Some practical steps. So what can you do? How does that work? Is it possible to manage it? So get a pencil, get a pen. Let's write it down. Here we go. Number one, you want to evaluate your career alignment. Ask yourself, does my current job align with my core values and purpose? The things that I'm doing, does it really align with what I'm doing? Okay? Do I feel fulfilled by the tasks that I'm performing? And hold on a second, give me just a second. Does it align? Do I feel like I'm fulfilled in the tasks I'm doing, the things I'm doing on a daily basis? Now, let me pause and let me drop this in here. There are times when we are going to have to do some things that do not directly align with what we say we want. And when we say directly align, I guess let me change that because that's not really true. Because if you are doing a job right now that is not going to be the ultimate job that you do, and you are simply doing that because you have got to make money to be able to do the things you want to do, then guess what? That job aligns with what you're going to do. But often we do one of two things. We are in a job that is really not the position that we want, because of whatever the reason. We are going through a transition in our life. We need finances right now. We've taken on a second job to help out, whatever it is, because that time is helping us to move and to pivot and to go in a different direction. And that's temporary. And we demonize that position. We say, oh man, no, it is part of the process. It is part of the journey. It is part of alignment because it is helping you go to the place you want to go. So that's one. Either we are there and it's a transitional space, but we demonize it and we don't appreciate it. Or two, we stay in the transition space too long. You're not supposed to be there for now, until now. It was supposed to be a stepping stone. It was supposed to be a jumping off point. But you stayed there too long. And now it feels like it's the wrong place. And now it is the wrong place because you shouldn't be there. It was a temporary place. It was a temporary spot. So the other question is, does this role positively or negatively impact or affect my diabetes care, my metabolism, the things that I'm doing? And if that's the case, we got to work on moving. Limitless Living says that we're not staying here. We're not allowing anything to prevent us from doing what we need to do for our health. Okay, that's number one. Number one, we want to evaluate our career alignment. Number two, what we want to do is we want to set firm boundaries at work. So commit to protecting your time, commit to protecting your mindset. Be mindful in what you do. If you have breaks, use the breaks for a break. Be mindful when you're eating at lunch. Be mindful when you're eating at work. Be mindful when you walk by somebody's desk and you grab the candy or grab the cookie or whatever it is. Why are you doing that? What's the boundary? Schedule short breaks if you can, specifically for breathing, for exercises, to reduce your cortisol level. One of the things that I tell people in the office is take some time twice a day. And it doesn't have to be long. 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. And the goal for that 5 minutes is simply to woosah. So you're setting those boundaries at work. Create a clear shutdown routine at the end of the day, end of your work, to protect your evening for restorative activities like exercise, meal prep, relaxation, hanging out with the family. I have to be honest, the last couple of weeks I've not been doing this. When I'm coming home, there is a spot on the highway where I say, okay, this is my place that I'm leaving work here and I'm now moving into what my evening is going to be. And that's the Rocket as I'm coming on, for those of you who are here in Huntsville. When I pass the Rocket, that's my place where I say, okay, I'm right now, I'm changing my thought process. I'm changing my thought process from being whatever I'm doing that day, and I'm now thinking, okay, it's nighttime, and what do I need to do as I get into this part of my day? Yeah, and then manage your work-related metabolic stress. Try intentionally doing micro breaks, and that's what I was just talking about. Every hour, every half hour, whatever it is, whatever you are allowed to do at your job. Stretch, breathe. Sometimes I'll leave the patient clinical area and I'll just walk back to my wife's office. And sometimes I walk in and she's doing something and she says, hey, what do you need? I don't need anything. I just needed to get away for a moment. And I walk back. Now, there are times when I get back there and when my team has to come get me. It is what it is, right? So tell the truth, shame the devil. But I needed a moment. So even small breaks dramatically reduce your cortisol level and stabilize blood sugars. And then identify tasks that consistently drain you and brainstorm how to delete, delegate, automate, restructure, whatever it is. One of the key things that I tell students who are rotating with me is find people around you that do things better than you do. If you're the smartest person in the room, then there's a problem. You need a different room. That's the first. We're actually coming to that next week as we get to our next domain. But here's the idea here. Like I think I'm pretty smart. Actually, I think I'm a brilliant person. Right? Okay. I'm a bit biased, right? And you probably think you're a brilliant person too. But I know that there are people that are in my office that do some stuff way better than I do. And so I may come up with the idea, but I'll give it to them. I say, okay, you now you go. So I don't even think about it anymore. I say, okay, this is what you do. And I let them do what they are good at. Because that's why I have them around me. I am a better person because I don't think I have to do everything. I let people do what they're good at. So identify those things that constantly drain you. There are certain things I don't like doing. I don't want to do it. I don't care to do it. I know how to do it. But hey, you like that? Boom, there you go. You have it. And I pass it on. So I tell my students when they come through, find people who do things better than you. And the things that you don't want to do, if they like to do it, boom, done. And then I'm not taking it back. I'm not criticizing it. Sometimes there are people, they find the things we give them to do, they do it much better than we would have ever thought about it. And then finally, job crafting. Job crafting. So enhance the purpose in your current role. Find meaningful aspects within your existing role and expand on them. One of the series I did a couple of years ago on the show, and you want to go back and watch that, it was a series on people who were in their current space, thriving where they are. And one of the consistent messages that came out of those conversations was this: what I'm doing now was not what I started out to do. What I'm doing now is perhaps a far cry than I ever planned to do. But while I was wherever I was, I learned the skills that I needed there. And look at me. Now the things I'm using are a lot of the things I learned on the job that I was not thinking much about. So wherever you are, even if this is not the space you're going to be in, find meaningful things there, expand it. Talk to your manager. Talk to your team about modifying responsibilities that better match your strengths and your passions. People in my office, they can tell what I'm passionate about. And you guys see me here. When something comes to my mind that hits me, I'm excited about it. So find those things in your space. Even small adjustments, like mentoring somebody else. I love to teach. And you know what makes my days go better? When I have students around me. Because it is the thing that gives me passion. So mentoring somebody else. Taking on a meaningful project. Something that you see that would be great. Talk to your supervisors. Hey, can we do this? One of the best things that I did recently was, and I told you I went camping. And so I am one of the counselors for the very first group that comes into this is part of Pathfinders, for those of you who may be familiar with this. It's kind of like Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts. So I am the counselor. I'm the very first counselor that they get when they come into the program. And so over the years, right, I've thought about the fact that when we go to these big camps, and I think I mentioned, last year we went to a camp that has almost 60 or 70,000 people. I'm talking about massive camps. right? I'm talking about tent camps. We're not talking about in the cabins. This is actually, you pitch a tent, you put the stakes down, right? Put the tarp down and all that stuff. And so I have been in my mind thinking, hey, it would be nice to take just my group, because we usually go as a club. And so I approached our director and I said, hey, I'd like to take our group camping. And he said, man, that's a great idea. And so over the course of this year, we've been working on this camp. And it was phenomenal. I loved it. It was something that was different. The kids loved it. People were saying, oh man, I'm glad that you were out here. Oh, look at those. People came to visit us, because it was just a group, and we were camping right here, right nearby us, because we have a lot of space on our campus. And so we pitched the tents right there. So is there something that you see in your space, in your area, on your job that could be done better? Something that speaks to you. So create it there. You don't necessarily need a new job. You need to intentionally align your current role with your health goals. Deeply focused on what this is. One of the things that is a pillar of limitless living, and you've heard me say it, but I've not connected it this way for you, but let's connect it now. In our limitless living framework, we frequently discuss 3 fundamental elements that are critical to reversing diabetes and achieving metabolic health. That is, decrease insulin, suppress the appetite, and reduce sugar. Right? We've talked about those. But limitless living says that those are specific things to those areas. If we come above and we start to look at our different domains of health, in order for us to be successful, what we have to have is rhythm, alignment, and structure. Rhythm, alignment, and structure. And rhythm is the basic tenure of your life. What is the purpose? What is the goal? What is the ultimate reason that you're here? That's the rhythm of my life. What is the thing? What is the thing when I think about myself, when people think about me, what is it that comes to their mind? What comes to my mind? What's the rhythm of my life? What's the direction of my life? What's my North Star statement? Rhythm. Alignment are the things I'm doing on a day-to-day basis taking me in the direction of what I say my rhythm is? That's what we're going to be talking about here in just a minute, a little bit more deeply. And then in order for that all to happen, we've got to have structure. So the reason for what we do, the reason for what I do, is to provide structure for people. Because there's a lot of stuff that you've heard it. We all have been told it. But we don't have a way, we don't have a structure, we don't have a way to start. Some people don't do things because they just don't know how to start, how to do it, what should it look like. So rhythm, alignment, and structure. So if you are going to be consistent, I want you to hear this. If you don't hear anything else that I say, if you're going to be successful in your health, if you're going to be successful physical health, mental health, emotional health, social health, spiritual health, occupational health, which we were talking about today. If you're going to be successful in any of the domains, which are really the crux of your life, you have to have structure. You have to have a way to keep that going. Motivation is great, because some of you, when you leave here, when you finish listening to me and people talk, hey, I just love that. That really spoke to me. And I'm glad it spoke to you. But motivation is fleeting. Tomorrow when you wake up and something comes to your mind, or some obstacle is there, or some bad feelings, or some hurt happens, motivation goes away. What is the thing that you're putting in place right now that's going to help you automate that process so that even if you wake up in the morning and you don't feel like going walking, you're going to walk anyway. What do you have in place so that even if you don't feel like putting down that donut or taking the insulin or checking your blood sugar or saving money if that's what you're working on, whatever it is, what do you have in place that automates that problem? What's the structure that's going to keep it going long term? Because motivation is not enough. Rhythm, what's the tenure of your life? Alignment are the things you're doing consistent with where you say you want to go. And do you have something in place to keep it going long term? So let's zero in on the alignment because it's especially vital when we are discussing occupational health. Alignment means that your daily actions at work resonate deeply with your personal purpose. It resonates with your core values and with your health goals. When your work is aligned, everything you do feels intentional, meaningful, and authentic. When you're aligned. But what happens when alignment is off? When alignment is off, metabolic health suffers. When your occupation is misaligned with your deep purpose, there is a constant internal friction. Every task feels like you're pushing a boulder uphill. You have to work harder. Your stress response escalates. Your metabolism suffers because there's not alignment. It's like me trying to go to New York, which is where my family is, but heading to California. I'm going somewhere, but it's not aligned. I'm moving, but it's not the right direction. There's activity, but there is not purposeful and there is not success-driven or oriented activity. I may get somewhere, but not where I'm trying to go. One of the funniest things to me is these movies where you got two people in a canoe, and they're supposed to be pulling, right? Pull. And if you remember the Korean canoe, right, you got two oars and you're pulling, or more than two oars, and you're all pulling together. And when you're doing that, right, you're going in a particular direction. But can you imagine what happens if the people on one side are pulling this way and the people on the other side are pulling that way, right? It's like this, right? And what happens to that boat, that canoe? It's just going like this. In science, we learned in physics that there are vectors, there are forces that are going at any particular time on a particular object. Physics. And so there can be a force going in this direction, which is supposed to push an object going this way. But if you have an opposite force and they're pushing against each other on the same place, on the same piece of material, guess what? That material is now stuck in space. And so are the things that you're doing aligned so that all of the forces are taking you in the direction that you want to go? Misalignment triggers chronic stress, consequently elevated cortisol levels. Chronic cortisol disrupts glucose metabolism, and it encourages insulin resistance. When your work doesn't resonate with you, it's harder to stay motivated to manage your diabetes, harder to stay motivated to check your blood sugars, harder to stay motivated to plan your meals, harder to stay motivated to exercise regularly. It becomes a burden rather than a priority. We're talking about misalignment. And then there's the emotional eating. So lack of alignment frequently leads to emotional buffering. because we're restless, we're irritable, and we're discontent. And overeating or overindulgent in sugary, high carb foods temporarily causes an escape from work dissatisfaction. The transformation of power of alignment comes, though, when our work aligns with the purpose and true direction. The amazing transformation that happens is that our metabolism becomes balanced, because all of a sudden alignment lowers our cortisol level. Notice, we haven't done a single thing yet. We haven't walked. We haven't started eating better. We haven't taken medication. We haven't checked our blood sugar. But simply having alignment lowers our cortisol level. And reducing that cortisol level decreases sugar, decreases insulin, decreases inflammation, and that directly improves our blood work and our blood sugar control. When we're aligned, our energy is up, and it energizes us and it motivates us. And that natural enhancement allows us to be willing to engage consistently with our health. Better nutrition, better exercise, boom. And then we're more resilient. So when we are misaligned, we have what's called a fixed mindset. We often see things in the negative. We think that all we can do is what we see. We think that what we have is permanent, that we cannot advance beyond this, that we can't move from here. Our blood sugars can't improve. I can't reverse my diabetes. I can't lose weight. My blood pressure is always going to be like this. I'm always going to have chronic, progressive worsening of my kidneys. But when we become resilient, when we change our mindset, when we're aligned, now we have a growth mindset that says, hey, limitless living, by the way, is a growth mindset process. It says that I can change and nothing is going to prevent me from doing what I need to do to be successful. It creates psychological resilience. It makes stress at work less dramatic and less damaging. So how do we do this? Number one, we want to clarify our purpose. What is your North Star statement? Where are you going? What do you do? Why are you at that job? What do you truly care about? What is it? So you want to clarify the purpose. Does my work reflect the values that I say I have? And do they reflect that on a daily basis? Number two, adjust your current role. Identify small tasks within your job that do align with your values. Talk to your manager. Say, hey, can I switch roles? Can I pick up this? Can I do that? Can I adjust this? Whatever it is, be proactive. One of the ideas that comes to me sometimes is that all of us, if you walked into your house right now, or you walked outside and you saw water just pouring into your house, like some pipe had broken while you were away, you would call maybe a plumber or find somebody to go turn off the main, right? And you call a plumber. And if the plumber said to you, hey, I can't come until next week, you know what we would do? We'd pick up the phone again and we'd call a different plumber. And if that plumber said, I can't come till tomorrow, we'd pick up the phone and we'd call another plumber. And we'd keep calling until we got somebody who would come right now, within the next hour. Like emergency, like now, come. But we spend days, weeks, months, years in places that we should have left long ago. Doing things we should not currently be doing. And I want you, pillar number 2 that we're learning tonight about limitless living. Pillar number 2 says that nothing that happens to me is happening to me without me directly being involved. Let me unpack that a little bit. I often hear people say, that happened to me. There are things that are going to happen that are outside of your control. You're going to walk outside, it's going to rain. Out of your control. You're going to be going down the road and your tire is going to get flat on the car. Outside of your control. You're going to be going to work and you're going to be late because there's an accident outside of my control. Yes. But what I'm talking about are those things that we have control over, that we either take a second hand to and just let it happen, or by not making a decision, we've made a decision. When it comes to our health, for sure. When it comes to our relationships, for sure. When it comes to our finances, definitely. When it comes to our job and our occupation and the career, yep. Well, that's what they said at the job. That's what we're going to do at the job. That's what I was told. This is what happened. No. Now, if you have done all you can and it still happens, another story. Because it's now out of your control. But we're no longer just allowing things to happen to us. Because we can make decisions that put us on the path to success. Limitless living. Limitless living. That's the power of rhythm, alignment, and structure. And it is the power of limitless living. It's one of the pillars of limitless living. And so I want you to start something real quickly. I want you to start each day by reminding yourself of your larger purpose. And I want you to write it. I want you to write it now. Get a piece of paper, write it down. I am here because I value blank. What is the blank? And that blank should be something that is in your North Star statement. The purpose. What are you doing? End each day by acknowledging that the alignment that you said you had is what happened today. That requires you to make sure that you're doing, saying, behaving, creating the spaces where that happens, when there's alignment. And a lot of you have said, well, you know what? I don't have to worry about that because I've retired. I'm sitting at the house. And my question to you is what you're doing aligned with what you say your purpose is? Is being at the house and not exercising aligned with your health? Is not moving aligned with what you say you want to have in terms of your health? Alignment is not optional. It's the heartbeat of occupational and metabolic wellness. When your professional life aligns with your purpose, when your retirement aligns with your purpose, your metabolic health improves naturally. This intentional alignment can transform your ability to reverse diabetes and achieve lasting health. So your occupational health isn't just a paycheck. It's one of the pillars of your metabolic health. It's one of the domains. When your work aligns with your deeper purpose, your hormones stabilize. Your motivation skyrockets. And reversing diabetes becomes much more easy to do. So this week I challenge you So evaluate your occupational health. Evaluate your retirement. Identify one small shift that you can make immediately to enhance your purpose. At work, at home, in retirement, that will reduce your metabolic stress and set you on the path for success. Remember, your health isn't a luxury. It's your most important job, and you have the power to shape your work life in ways that fuel rather than drain your metabolic health and diabetes management. As always, we encourage you to educate, empower, encourage, because I believe you can live a truly limitless life. And after all, that's what we're doing here. I always say that I love this conversation. This is an amazing conversation. Beautiful, beautiful one. Because it is so powerful. And I want you to take this and apply it across the board. And I'm talking now specifically to people who are retired. Because you're like, yeah, I've done my work. But there's more. There's so much more, so much richness that you have at your fingertips right now. Don't let that slip away. Don't let that slip away from you. All right, so let's hop over. Let's see. We've got some. Let's hop back up here. Oh, so Sherry was saying, I know that Dime Savings Bank next to Junior's. Dime Savings Bank is closed, but Junior's is still. Of course it is. The cheesecake place is going to be there, right? Sherry said, I graduated from Clara Barton High School. We're having a Brooklyn reunion on your YouTube live. But seriously, I appreciate your YouTube. Well, thank you so much, Sherry. Gion said, hi, doctor. Hi, Limitless Living gang. I'm late. Well, glad that you're here. Pam says, hi, Gion. Cornelia says, hi, Gion. Teresa says, hi, Gion. Jennifer says, hi, Gion. And here comes Bowie. Bowie says, hi, everyone. Jennifer says, hi, howdy, Bowie. And just everyone saying hello. Cornelia, Pamela, Teresa. Teresa says, work. Most bosses don't care like that. I say, just quit. Pamela says, just quit. Gion is laughing. Pam says, LOL. Teresa Graham says, Pam. Pam says, you will feel better. Let's see. is on. Okay. Teresa says, ouch, ouch, ouch. Oh, Teresa. Yeah, I'm stepping on my toes as well. Sherry says, mindset, resilience, definitely. That is a key word. Thank you. Clarification of my purpose. Adjust my current role. All of this. See, look at Sherry. You're just on the ball. She says, this is good. Colonio says, yes, another powerful message. Oh. Well, thank you all. Thank you all for all that you say and all that you do here. So underlying everything that we talk about is really just kind of our platform, right? So our platform here, we educate, we empower, and we encourage. And the things that we do, the things that we learn with the shows, the podcasts, the blogs, this is all intended to help us change our mindset. And one of the domains of our health is our mindset, right? Or our mind. And the mind is the director. It is the driver. It is the steering wheel that takes us through life. And it really impacts the view that we have of the world. The mind, vision, is the lens through which we see the world. Because nothing that happens has an effect until we infuse it with a meaning. That meaning creates a feeling. The feeling creates an emotion. That emotion drives our behavior, ultimately our actions, and then based on our actions, we get a result. So in order for us to change the result that we're getting, we've got to change our mindset. And so we educate for that. We empower with the tools that we learn. 100-day walking to consistency and health is a tool. Fasting that we do is a tool. Balanced bites, how we eat, is a tool. All of those are tools that are giving you the power to implement the things that you've now learned through education. And the encouragement that we have is the space where that gets support, becomes rich, becomes deeper. Those connections that we make. When we went camping this week, those kids that came out, the connections they made on this camp, because on Saturday night we had a storm that was coming through, and they are now able to, they've bonded over the experience. And there's nothing like having people who understand where you are, understand what you're coming from, understand the stories that you take or tell, understand the words that you use. There are spaces where I go where I start to say something, like in my office now. I took a picture of I was at the grocery store and I took a picture of a Cadbury bar and showed it. All I did was I said, I got a picture for you guys, and I showed it, and they understood. I didn't have to explain anymore. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. And when you come, I encourage you to become a part of the community, to share your story, to walk along with us, to let us know where you are, how you're doing, what's going on with your blood sugars. Have you lost weight? That's why I share my stuff, because I want you to understand this is a daily walk. This is in real time. You get to see what's going on with me on a daily basis. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. And then let somebody else know. Say, hey, there's a place where we can go where we can learn what we need to do to develop, to enhance, and to improve our metabolism, because dysfunctional metabolism is the basis for a lot of our chronic diseases. And I want to encourage you, empower you, educate you to make different changes or different choices. I'm always excited when I'm here. We will be back later this week as we do our check-in for our fasting. We will start fasting tomorrow. We'll be here on Wednesday to check in at a little over 24 hours probably, and then 48 hours. And then, of course, later in the week on Friday, we do our complete review of fasting. We'll be back on Saturday night at 9 o'clock for Video from the Vault, and then Sunday morning for This Week in Review. And then we'll be right back here on Monday, right in the saddle, for Dwain Woode MD Live at 7 p.m. Central. So glad that you're here. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for hanging out. And thank you for all that you do for this community. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And we are creating the life we've always wanted. And this year, we are living a limitless life. And limitless living says that we're not allowing anything from inside of us or anything from outside of us to prevent us from doing what we need to do. We are breaking free from the constraints. We're breaking through those boundaries, and we are presenting our best self, our best health, and our best plans for our life. Thank you for being here. Good night. We'll see you at our next episode. Bye-bye, everybody.